I'm gonna be honest. Nostalgia is going to be the death of me, bro. And I know that sounds cheesy and corny as fuck, but I'm telling you, nostalgia, it almost makes you want to cry a little bit because it's just more about the memories that you've made and realizing that you're not gonna have those same memories back. Even if the game that you was playing with your homeboys came back out or the servers reopened or whatever the case may be today, if everything just went back to how it was in 2016, 15, 14, 13, 17, 18, 19, you know, it won't be the same because at that time you was a kid and you was going through the motions of life and that was your first this is still our first time living, but this is, that's your first ever and last experience of being a teenager, being a kid. And as we experience our first times being young adults, I feel like we're living in the world now where everything is meant to harm us. Nothing is meant to help us gain anything. A lot of these people out here are really just trying to make a buck off each other, trying to scam each other, trying to harm each other. Shit, you hear it in the raps, you see it in the advertisements, you hear it on the TV shows, you see it in the Netflix shows. You know, Zeus, for example, you got baddies and shit. They got niggas naming their characters after demonic people and all type of shit. Like, it's just nothing is out here to really help us anymore. And as a kid, it probably was the same way. But when you were a kid, they ain't setting you up for failure. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you know, everything out here now is just so expensive, and nowadays, trying to have fun doesn't even feel fun no more. It just feel like you just doing, you just going through the motion with what everybody else doing. You not, and trying to be yourself is not really the norm anymore. Like now, when you try to be yourself, you just get ridicule because the social media age of everybody trying to look impressive, everybody trying to, outshine one another instead of trying to help each other. Like back then, it was the same, but we was having fun, and I'm just saying this because I found myself watching some old YouTube videos. Like we all grew up watching Chris Smooth. If you played 2K, like he was one of them ones, bro. He is one of them ones. Fuck, he was. He is one of them ones. And there was a point in time where I made a YouTube channel. This is the YouTube channel I'm talking about. And I was just talking to basically nobody. I had no subscribers, but I was playing 2K13, when they had the Jay-Z soundtrack and shit. When we wasn't worrying about him drinking. I ain't gonna say that, but it was just, those memories is just like something I just can't really get back, bro. Like, and, I found myself downloading a lot of old games again just to like enjoy myself, just to try to feel like a kid, And I remember I made a video talking about nostalgia will hold me back. And, making that video, there's truth into everything I was saying. But it's kind of hard applying that truth, you feel me? Because nowadays, first of all, people ridicule you for playing video games in your mid-20s anyway, which, nigga, do what the fuck you want to do with your free time. Like, as long as you helping yourself get financially stable, you working, you helping your family, not just harboring all your time into a video game and you not just doing nothing outside of it, you all right, bro. There's nothing wrong with it. But, I just found myself, trying hard to feel happy, in moments where, life could be so down. And a lot of the times life do be feeling down, especially when it comes to you trying to put yourself in a situation where you don't want to be worrying about, why this job not hiring me, or damn, what the fuck am I going to do now? Like you just figuring out what you want to be in your future life. Obviously, I figure those things out, through the grace of God and understanding who I am as a person. But we all have those moments where life just gets to you a little bit. Life just hits you in the face with a 2-piece combo with a biscuit on the side. You feel me? Like life gonna hit you like that, bro. Especially when you figure out, certain things is not how your parents thought you were gonna turn out to be. Like, some parents, They thought their kids was gonna go to college and be doctors and lawyers and get a degree and, break the generational curse. Some kids don't even go to college. Some kids don't even finish college. I'm gonna finish college because I'm already there. Like, there's no point in dropping out. If I drop out now, it'll just be some stupid, goofy shit, goofy decision. And what I'm doing right now is not really in the way of college. I could manage doing college, going to school, and making videos. It's not that hard. But I just wanted to have that feeling of waking up and be worry free. You know, and we could do the same thing as young adults, but it's kind of hard to do that when everything that you have to do is necessary. Paying bills, getting your credit right, paying off car notes, making sure that all the shit is ready and, well done so that you don't have to wake up and feel like you're struggling, feel like, your life is just, you just trying to pay off everything, like you just indebted to everybody. And that's why a lot of people don't really want to, a lot of people, people be saying like they can't see themselves living past 21. I had never said that. I always thought I'd be able to live as long as I could. Shoot, I would love to see my grandkids, you feel me, like reaching old age, like 80, 90, you know. And, it's just the thought process of everything that you have to go through to get to that point. You feel me? Like, you got to wake up, possibly got to go to work. Not possibly, you do have to go to work because, you know, if you got a house, you got to, pay bills. If you're in an apartment, you got to pay the rent. You probably got some extra things you got to pay off. And, just being a kid, you was just not worrying about that. Even when your parents was like struggling or they didn't have everything, they were still managing to find a way to make you feel happy. And in those moments, you were just a good, jolly kid. You never missed a meal or, you had everything up under you. You had a roof over your head. You had the new gaming systems. You had the toys. You know what I'm saying? When you went to school, you always had the Lunchables in your lunchbox. You always had, some new shoes. They took you to basketball practice, football practice. They was trying to develop you. Those were things that were helping your development in life. And those things are just something you just look back and be like, damn, like in my eyes, I don't want to do it all over again, but I would love to, look from a third person, like look from another point of view of how my life used to be. You feel me? Going to daycare after elementary school. During summer, I used to go to daycare and, while my parents was working, they would take me there and they would feed me. We would have fun, go on field trips. In elementary school, we would go on field trips, go to Tennessee, go to the Georgia Aquarium, things like that. Go to different places around Georgia. And, it's not like that no more. A lot of the times kids are just behind this structure of, hey, sit down, shut up, do this work. Middle school, I don't even think middle schools even do field trips no more. I believe most of the time you're just in school, just learning shit that, you sitting down, walking behind a red line or green line, in a single file line, like you're going to be in single file lines in real life. Like, all that shit is training you to just be some fucking robot trying to be, obviously it teaches you to, have order and not just be out here just running around doing what the fuck you want to do. But, I can't name an instance in life where, well, obviously, I guess the street applies to that because, you don't want to be crossing over into the street. But that's different. Like, that's cars. We're talking about people inside of a school building. Like, and, I just miss those days, man. Like, I just really miss those days. And, those days I can't get back. And, sometimes it be eating at me alive because, I just got paid, and the first thing I thought about was the channel and how I could implement better quality to the channel, like getting the microphone, getting the camera, and possibly buying like some old games from GameStop. But the GameStop close to my house just shut down, so and I ain't finna be waiting until June 5th and June 6th and June 13th to get a fucking old ass game that came out 10 plus years ago. Like, I'm not doing that, so I just got to do what I got to do with the things I got in front of me. I'm grateful for it. So I ain't really finna be complaining too much. But, it's nothing wrong with change. It's nothing wrong with getting better. But, you know, I just feel like in the long run, the nostalgia is definitely going to be like one of those things where it's going to have a toll on me for sure. Especially when I get older and, life might get a little rough. And I just be like, damn, like, just miss being a kid. But, that's all I have for today. Just want to get y'all a little video out here of something I was thinking about. We're going to stay consistent as always. If not every day, we're going to post daily, man, because, I got a dream and I want to accomplish that dream. I want to make it into a reality. So if y'all new, like, share, subscribe, comment down below if y'all relate to this. Stay up, stay motivated, stay positive, stay disciplined, stay yourself. Catch you on the next one. Peace.